Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be talking a little bit about rental deposits and probably not getting it back when you live out here in the Philippines. Stick around. Alright guys, this is actually my very last day in Davao, grabbing a quick coffee here. And I thought I would tell you a little bit about rental deposits, especially with the Philippines now being open and you're able to come out here and you're able to finally get to see the people that you've been chatting with and your fiancés and girlfriends and wives and all that stuff. So I thought it would be a good time, an appropriate time to talk about this and relate to some of my experiences as well, and one that just happened recently actually. But a couple of things I wanted to go over is, one, when you move out here, obviously you're gonna have to put a deposit at any kind of a long-term rental, and sometimes that can even be like a 30-day rental of an apartment or something, because you can find short rental terms at like RentPad, and you can find them on Facebook rental groups and things like that. And so what I recommend is you be very, very careful with that. Honestly, I really recommend just doing it through Airbnb. Much better. And I recommend using a superhost, because a superhost, it's a coveted title, and a lot of times people, even including myself, when they search for a rental or a place on Airbnb, they will just search for superhost because they know it's going to be high ratings and probably good quality, and you have to maintain a certain level to maintain that superhost. So they're really afraid of losing that. They know that they get extra business because they are superhosts, and because of that, they will kind of bend over backwards to make sure you're satisfied. They want to maintain that superhost. So that's a good way to go. I recently found this place in Davao just off of a website. I didn't do it through Airbnb, which I should have in retrospect. But the place that I have now, the agreement was that I put a $10,000 deposit, and that would cover electric, that would cover water. And unfortunately, nothing was written. It was all verbal in a conversation over the phone. And because I was in a hurry and I was coming from the typhoon in Cebu, I didn't have my thinking cap on like I do right now, but I should have. I should have got things in writing. I should have at least had it verbally written out in a text or something between her and myself, but I didn't. So the water and the electric bill came out to around 6,000 pesos. And she contacted me, and I said, okay, so you have my 10,000 deposit. You can subtract it from there. But no, she started adding extra things. She started saying, okay, you owe for the internet, you owe for cleanup, you owe for this, you owe for that. I mean, just all kinds of extra things that were not discussed. And we had talked and said the monthly rent was 20K, and that monthly rent would include certain things. It would include the internet, but that all of a sudden disappeared once it came time to get the deposit back. So short story, the 10K is gone. Not only is the 10K gone, but she wanted additional money. And I'm not going to go through every amount that I had to spend, but the point is you got to get these things written, and you also need to do a walkthrough at the very beginning and note any kind of damages to your condo, or even inventory of like, hey, this is what's here, you don't have this, you don't have that, you know, the wall is damaged, the TV doesn't work. you got to do a walkthrough and a video walkthrough with the owner or at least the rental agent or somebody. Now, I have had good experience with rentals. The last one in Moncton, Newtown, I had a fantastic agent named Sheila, and she was fantastic. She took care of everything for me, helped with deposits and all of that. That's not a guarantee you'll get all your money back on a deposit here, but I think a lot of you can relate and probably share some stories down below. But a rental deposit here in the Philippines is almost like a loan. It just doesn't exist. You know, you probably aren't going to get it back. It's just the way it is. Out of all the places I've rented here, I've only gotten back maybe once, really, honestly, and that was at this last time here in Moncton, Newtown. So it's when they want 2 months deposit at an apartment or a condo, I never do it. I never, because I know the chances are I probably will lose that deposit. So what I do is I negotiate and say, hey, I won't do 2 months. I'm willing to do 1 month deposit, and that's just the way it is. I don't do 2 months. I learned my lesson with that when I first moved to the Philippines. I had a 2 month deposit, had to walk away from that, lost the whole thing. That's a whole other story. But when it comes time to move out, they will find anything and everything to retain that deposit. A lot of times, places will have already spent that money, you know, and they don't even actually have the deposit money, you know. Luckily, like I said, this last place, Moncton, Newtown, I had a good owner, I had a great agent, and you know, I got my deposit back. But there are a lot of times, a lot of instances that you can just kiss that deposit back away. You know, if you talk to a lot of expats who've lived here, some of them will have good stories, you know, of they got their deposit back or they got at least most of it back. But there's a large portion that will tell you that that deposit, their deposits are gone, and the owners wanted additional money. So, you know, I'm actually interested in hearing some of your guys' stories. But again, always negotiate. Only do a 1 month deposit. Don't ever let them talk you into giving a 2 month deposit. And also do a walkthrough and account and inventory for everything that's there. Anything that doesn't work, as simple as a rice cooker, if it doesn't work, make sure it's noted and that they're with you. And make sure you account for any damages and make sure it's all on video, time stamped, and you do it with the owner or the agent. Make sure everything is in writing. If the internet is included, it needs to be in writing. If it's not included, it needs to be in writing. If the electric is separate, whatever. It's all got to be in writing. Otherwise, it's your word against their word, and they won't take your word for it when it comes time if they filed a complaint with the barangay or whatever. It's not going to go in favor of you, I can promise. So again, stay away from the you know, like if you're going to use like a Facebook group and different agencies to maybe find a short-term rental, it's best if you can to use Airbnb. It's best if you can use Superhost, and you don't have to worry about all these extra costs coming up later, like the electric, the internet, the cable, cleaning fee. All those fees are already included on Airbnb, so you don't have to worry about that. Granted, you know, I wish I would have went through Airbnb for this time around and just paid the extra money. I thought I was getting a good deal at $20K. Ended up spending, you know, and actually my buddy had paid $30K, and I was thinking, oh man, I did great on my deal. But I ended up spending more than he did on his deal. The other thing, I've had also buddies recently who moved into a condo, and they find out that the homeowners association fees haven't been paid in over a year. They're in the rear, and they haven't paid condo payments in 6 months, and they're being ready to be foreclosed on. I had a friend who had that same situation, and he was there, and literally 2 weeks after he moved in, the power got shut off, and then he called the power company, found out that the electric hadn't been paid in like 4 months, and all that had to be paid to be turned back on, and the owner didn't have the money, and they had his 1 month deposit, and he was in just a bad situation. So the deposit, he ended up not paying on the last month and just leaving, you know, but its deposit was gone. So bottom line is, most of the time a deposit for a rental place in the Philippines usually can just be kissed goodbye. It's just part of the expense and cost of moving into a place. If you find a good owner, you have a good agent, then hopefully you could get it back. Like I said, the last one I had in Mocktown, Newtown, I had a great owner of my condo, a great agent, Sheila, and I was able to get it back. But for the majority of the time, you may not get it back. Anyway, just a word of warning, Philippines is now open. You guys are able to come out here, and a lot of you will get into rental agreements, and just be cautious. Just know that a deposit, likely you won't be getting it back. There are things you can do to help yourself to get it back. You know, do a little research, make sure the owner's not in the rear and they're current on everything. It's okay to ask them to make sure that they're current on their condo payments and the electric and everything like that. Make sure everything's all in writing. Do a video walkthrough of any damages, anything that doesn't work. You know, inventory of things that are there, and inventory of things that you don't have, and you should be good to go. But chalk this up for another lesson for Gio in the Philippines. I made a rush decision into a place to find a place here in Davao, and I made a mistake on it, but it is what it is. So anyway, this is the last coffee at here in Davao, and then I'm moving on tomorrow early morning. So thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.